All right, so you're dreaming of becoming a fish cook.
Mm.
Knives, flashing fish,
Yeah.
sizzling.
Mhm.
It's an art form, really. And you've come to the right place because we are going deep into RoleCatcher's guides.
Yeah.
They've got a career guide, an interview guide, and even some AI tricks up their sleeve. So let's get you not just applying for these jobs, but acing those interviews.
Yeah, that's the goal. These resources, they're like your secret weapons, and we're going to show you exactly how to use them.
All right, love it. So first things first, the career guide lays out what a fish cook actually does.
Hmm.
I mean, it's way more than just grilling, right?
Yeah.
What surprised you when you first got into this field?
Honestly, for me, it was the sheer variety. It's not just cooking. You're sourcing the freshest fish, sometimes even dealing directly with suppliers. It's like being a conductor,
Hmm.
bringing all these amazing ingredients and techniques together into this perfect symphony on a plate.
Okay, I love that visual. So now let's jump into the interview guide. They've got 9 killer questions here, and let's just start with the first one. How did you become interested in cooking fish? I'd probably talk about always loving seafood. Maybe my grandma's fish stew recipe. Keep it personal, right?
Yeah, personal's good, but you got to tie it back to the job. Remember the career guide talks about the creativity of a fish cook? So instead of just loving seafood, were you maybe fascinated by different species, how the flavors change with different cooking methods, that kind of thing? That shows a real passion for the craft.
Ah, okay. So it's more like, I always loved how a delicate sole meuniere can be so different from like a bold grilled tuna.
Exactly. And be ready because they might ask you, what's your favorite fish to cook and why? Have a specific answer ready, show them you've thought this through.
Okay, got it. Question 2. What is your experience cooking different types of fish? Should I just list everything I've ever made?
Yeah, you can list them, but showcase your experience. So instead of just saying salmon, talk about specific dishes. Like maybe a cedar plank roasted salmon with a maple glaze. Did you specialize in any particular type of fish or cooking style? Like the career guide mentions that. Highlight those things.
Got it. So
Okay.
instead of I've cooked cod, it's I've experimented with various cod preparations from classic beer batter to a Mediterranean-style bake with tomatoes and olives.
Now you're painting a picture. And be prepared because they might ask, tell me about a time you had to prepare a fish dish you were unfamiliar with. How did you approach it? This shows that you're a quick learner and adaptable.
Ooh, that's a good one to be prepared for. All right, next up. How do you ensure that the fish you cook is fresh and of high quality? I mean, isn't it just like checking for clear eyes, firm flesh, no fishy smell?
Yeah, those are the basics for sure. But remember, the career guide emphasized sourcing, mentioned working with local fishmongers. Maybe you even know the boat captains who caught the fish. That shows a dedication to quality that goes beyond just the obvious.
Wow, okay, so it's more like I've built relationships with local suppliers to guarantee the freshest catch. And I inspect each fish personally. I'm not afraid to reject anything that's subpar because our customers deserve the best.
Now you're speaking their language. And be ready for this one. Have you ever rejected a fish delivery? Why and how did you handle it? This is your chance to really show that commitment to quality and professionalism.
Got it. Okay, this next one's interesting. How do you manage your time when preparing multiple fish dishes at once? Well, I'm a pretty organized person, so I'd explain how I prioritize and stay focused under pressure. Is that enough?
That's a good start. But remember, the career guide stresses monitoring and time management. Make those come alive. Tell them about a specific time when you were juggling multiple orders during like a crazy dinner rush. What steps did you take to stay organized and at your deadlines and make sure every dish was perfect?
Okay, right. Instead of I'm organized, I could say during one particularly hectic Friday night, I had a system for tracking orders. I delegated tasks to the other cooks, and I constantly monitored cooking times to ensure that every plate went out on time and cooked to perfection.
Much more impactful. Now they might follow up with, what do you do when unexpected problems arise in the kitchen, especially under time pressure? So have an example ready that shows you're a problem solver.
Okay, I'm seeing how these specific stories can really make a difference. Now, this one seems pretty straightforward. How do you ensure that your dishes are consistent in flavor and presentation? Well, I always follow recipes. Precisely measure carefully. Pay attention to plating.
Yeah, that's the foundation, but think a little deeper. The interviewer wants to see that you take pride in your work, that you're always striving for excellence. Maybe mention taste testing throughout the process, or seeking feedback from your colleagues to refine your presentation.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about following the recipe. It's about constantly evaluating and improving.
Exactly, and they might ask, what steps do you take to ensure consistency even when working with different batches of fish? Because fish can vary in size and quality, so highlighting your adaptability is key.
Right. I can talk about adjusting cooking times based on the thickness of the fillet or using different techniques to bring out the best in each batch.
Perfect. Now, this next question is crucial in today's fast-paced culinary world. How do you stay up to date on new seafood trends and techniques? I'd probably mention reading culinary magazines, checking out food blogs, following chefs on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are all good starting points. But the career guide really emphasizes professional development. Have you attended any culinary workshops or seafood-specific conferences? Are you a member of any professional culinary associations? These really show a dedication to continuous learning.
Oh, so it's not just about keeping up with what's trendy. It's about actively seeking out knowledge from the pros.
Exactly. So instead of I read food blogs, say something like, I recently attended a workshop on sustainable sushi practices, and I'm a member of, and then mention a relevant culinary association. I find these resources invaluable for staying ahead of the curve.
Ooh, that sounds so much more impressive.
Ooh.
And they might ask, what's a specific trend in fish cookery that you've recently incorporated into your work?
Mm-hmm.
So be prepared with a concrete example. Okay, I'm taking notes.
All right, on to question 7, and this one is all about safety. How do you ensure that your kitchen is clean and sanitized at all times? I'm a total stickler for hygiene, so I'd explain my thorough cleaning routines and my knowledge of food safety guidelines. But how can I make that answer really stand out?
Yeah, you're right to highlight hygiene. That's non-negotiable. But the career guide specifically mentions skills like complying with food safety and hygiene and ensuring cleanliness. So go beyond just the basics. Mention using color-coded cutting boards to prevent cross-contamination. Maybe talk about a specific sanitizing solution that you prefer and why. Oh, okay, I get it. It's about showing that I'm proactive and knowledgeable about best practices. I could even mention implementing a strict hand-washing policy for the entire kitchen staff.
Excellent. They might even ask you to describe a time when you identified a potential food safety hazard in the kitchen and how you resolved it. This is where you really get to shine as a problem solver.
Okay, I'm feeling prepped for that one. All right, moving on to question 8. How do you manage your team and delegate tasks effectively? I'm a natural leader, so I'd talk about my communication skills, my ability to motivate others, my experience in assigning tasks based on individual strengths. Would that be enough?
Yeah, that's a solid foundation. And again, show don't just tell. The career guide emphasizes management of personnel resources and coordination. Share a specific story where you successfully manage a kitchen team. Maybe you trained a new cook on fish preparation techniques or coordinated different stations during a really busy service. Bring those skills to life.
Right, so instead of just saying, I'm a good leader, I should actually describe a specific situation and how I tackled it. Like, during a large catering event, I had to delegate tasks to a team of cooks. I assigned roles based on individual skills, provided clear instructions, and ensured that everyone worked together efficiently to achieve a successful outcome.
That's so much better. Be prepared for follow-up questions like, how do you handle conflicts or disagreements within your team, especially in a high-pressure environment?
Okay, noted. Final question. How do you handle customer complaints or special requests related to fish dishes? I'd say I always listen carefully to the customer's concerns. Try to understand their needs and offer solutions or alternatives whenever possible. But I feel like everyone says that.
Yeah, you're right. That's kind of the standard response. Make it memorable with specific examples. Have you ever had a customer complain about overcooked fish? How did you resolve it? Did you offer to recook the dish, provide a complimentary dessert, or maybe explain the cooking process to reassure them? These details really showcase your problem-solving and customer service skills.
Ooh. I could even mention that time I created a special off-menu dish for a customer with a severe seafood allergy. I carefully sourced the ingredients, adapted a recipe to meet their dietary needs. Talk about going the extra mile.
Now, that's impressive. That shows you're not just following protocol, you're going above and beyond. And they might follow up with, what's your philosophy on dealing with difficult customers? Be prepared to share your approach in a way that highlights your professionalism and composure.
Wow, we just went through all 9 questions.
Yeah.
I'm feeling so much more prepared for that fish cook interview already.
Great. But remember, these guides, they're just the foundation. You've got to personalize your answers and connect them to the specific restaurant you're applying to.
Totally. Speaking of personalization, the career guide mentions that RoleCatcher has some pretty cool AI features that can help with that. Can you tell us a bit more about how that works?
Absolutely. RoleCatcher's AI analyzes both your resume and the specific job description that you're applying for, and then it pinpoints those crucial keywords and skills that employers are looking for and helps you tailor your application materials to really highlight those key elements.
So it's like having a personal resume assistant who knows exactly what employers want to see. That's pretty amazing. But can AI really help with interview prep too?
It can. RoleCatcher's AI also provides feedback on your interview answers, helping you refine your responses and identify areas for improvement. It's like having a virtual coach who can help you ace that interview.
Hmm. I'm definitely intrigued. Now, before we move on, there are a few more interesting nuggets from the career guide that I thought were worth mentioning.
Absolutely. Let's dive into those. Yeah, you mentioned some interesting nuggets from the career guide. What were those?
Well, first off, it seems like the job outlook for fish cooks is pretty positive.
Yeah.
They mentioned steady job growth is expected over the next few years. That's good news for anyone thinking about diving into this field.
Yeah, it is encouraging. The demand for high-quality seafood is on the rise, and restaurants are always on the lookout for those skilled professionals who can create, those delicious and innovative fish dishes.
That's great to hear. And speaking of growth, the career guide also talked about the 3 career stages for a fish cook entry level, junior, and senior. I think it's really helpful to kind of understand where you fit in and what skills are expected at each level.
Absolutely. It's all about setting realistic expectations and showcasing your skills accordingly. If you're applying for an entry-level position, you want to highlight your eagerness to learn and your passion for fish cookery. Then, as you progress to those junior and senior roles, you can start emphasizing your experience leadership skills and your ability to manage a team.
Got it. So it's like, I may be starting out, but I'm a fast learner and I'm eager to absorb everything I can about this craft. Versus, I've led teams and managed busy kitchen stations. I'm ready to take on more responsibility.
Exactly. Tailor your message to where you are in your journey.
Now, you mentioned some core skills from the career guide that caught your eye. What were those?
Yeah, they talked about monitoring, time management, critical thinking. What do those really mean in the context of like a busy fish kitchen?
Okay, well, those are all essential skills for any fish cook. Think of monitoring as not just watching, but actively engaging with the whole cooking process. You're constantly checking temperatures, adjusting the heat, noticing those subtle changes in texture and aroma. You're ensuring that everything is cooking to perfection.
Okay, so it's like being a detective constantly gathering clues to solve the mystery of a perfectly cooked fish.
I like that analogy. Now, time management that is absolutely crucial in a fast-paced kitchen environment. You need to be able to juggle multiple tasks, prioritize orders, anticipate needs, and just orchestrate a seamless flow from prep to plating.
So it's like being an air traffic controller, making sure everything kind of takes off and lands on time. No room for delays in a busy kitchen. Exactly. And then critical thinking that comes into play when you need to troubleshoot problems, maybe adapt recipes, on the fly, handle a last-minute substitution if a certain fish isn't available.
So it's not just about following instructions. It's about thinking on your feet and finding those creative solutions when things get tricky.
Exactly. Those core skills, along with your culinary abilities, they're going to set you apart from the competition and really demonstrate your value to those potential employers.
It's amazing how much more goes into being a fish cook than I initially thought.
Yeah.
It's not just about, loving seafood. It's about passion, dedication, and a whole lot of skills.
Absolutely. And speaking of skills, let's go back to the interview guide for a moment. Remember that question about how you ensure consistency in flavor and presentation?
Right. It's not just about, following the recipe precisely. It's about going above and beyond.
Exactly. The career guide mentions the importance of calibrating your equipment like ovens and thermometers to ensure accuracy and consistency. You could mention that during your interview, highlighting your attention to detail.
Okay, right. I could say something like, I regularly calibrate our ovens and thermometers to ensure that everything's cooking at the correct temperature. Consistency is key, especially when you're dealing with delicate fish.
Perfect. That shows that you're not just following instructions, but you're taking those proactive steps to ensure quality control.
Okay, that's a great tip. Now remember, when we were talking about staying up to date on trends, the career guide actually suggested some really specific ways to do that I thought were interesting.
Oh, yeah. They went beyond just reading blogs and magazines. What stood out to you?
Well, they mentioned attending workshops and conferences that are specifically focused on seafood. I never even thought about that. Are there really that many events dedicated to fish cookery?
More than you might think. There are seafood expos, culinary conferences, even specialized workshops on things like sustainable sushi practices or advanced filleting techniques.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying that I follow chefs on social media, I could mention attending a specific event like the Boston Seafood Expo or a master class with like a renowned seafood chef.
Exactly. That demonstrates a much higher level of commitment to your craft and shows that you're actively seeking out those opportunities to learn and grow.
I'm adding that to my list of things to research. Now, remember how we talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help tailor your resume and cover letter to specific job descriptions.
Yeah, it's an incredibly valuable tool.
Well, the career guide actually mentions that RoleCatcher's AI goes beyond just those application materials. It can actually even help you prepare for the interview itself.
That's right. They have a feature that analyzes the job description and actually generates potential interview questions based on the specific skills and experience required for that role.
So it's like having a sneak peek into the interviewer's mind. You can anticipate the questions they might ask and prepare your answers in advance.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. RoleCatcher's AI can even provide feedback on your interview responses, helping you identify areas for improvement and refine your delivery.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal interview coach right in your pocket.
Precisely. Now, before we move on, there's one more important aspect of being a fish cook that we haven't really touched on yet: the physical demands of the job. The career guide mentions that it can be a pretty tough gig. Long hours on your feet, sometimes working in hot and cramped conditions.
Yeah, that's something I was wondering about. I'm not exactly used to standing for hours on end.
Yeah,
How can someone prepare for that, both physically and mentally?
that's a great question. We'll delve into the physical and mental demands of the job and how to thrive in that environment in our next segment.
Okay, so we've talked about the skills, the trends, even how AI can help us prep. But let's get real. Being a fish cook, it's physically demanding. Long hours, hot kitchens. How do you survive, let alone thrive in that kind of environment?
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's definitely not a desk job. It's a test of both physical stamina and mental resilience.
So first things first, the career guide mentions those long hours on your feet. What kind of footwear can save you from wanting to, chop off your own toes by the end of the night?
Yeah, comfort and support are key. You want to look for shoes specifically designed for restaurant work. They'll have those slip-resistant soles, good arch support, and breathable materials to keep your feet, from getting too sweaty.
Okay, so ditch those cute little ballet flats and invest in some serious kitchen-ready kicks. Got it. But what about the heat? I mean, I'm already sweating just thinking about standing over a sizzling grill all day.
Yeah, staying hydrated is absolutely crucial. You want to drink plenty of water throughout your shift, even when you don't feel thirsty, and wear lightweight, breathable clothing that helps wick away moisture.
So basically dress like I'm training for a desert marathon in a sauna.
Well, maybe not that extreme, but you get the idea.
Okay, good shoes, breathable clothes, hydration station on standby. Check. But how do you actually build up the stamina to stand for hours on end? Do I need to start training for a marathon?
Well, regular exercise is definitely beneficial, but you can also prepare by gradually increasing your time spent standing and moving around at home. Practice your knife skills, try out some new recipes, anything to just kind of get your body accustomed to being on its feet.
Okay, so turn up the kitchen heat, blast some motivational music, and pretend I'm running my own restaurant.
Exactly. The more you can simulate that real-world environment, the better prepared you'll be.
Okay, I'm feeling pumped. But now let's talk about the mental side of things. The career guide mentions it can be a pretty high-pressure environment, especially during those crazy dinner rushes. Any tips for staying focused and managing stress when the orders are flying in and the kitchen's a symphony of clanging pots and sizzling fish?
Yeah, deep breaths are your best friend. When you start to feel overwhelmed, take a few moments to pause, breathe deeply, refocus your energy. It's amazing what a little oxygen can do for your mental clarity.
Okay, deep breaths.
Yes.
Got it. What else can I do to kind of keep those stress levels in check?
Prioritize self-care outside of work. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, and finding activities that help you relax and recharge, whether it's yoga, meditation, or just spending time in nature.
Right, a happy cook is a good cook. So it's not just about what happens in the kitchen. It's about taking care of myself outside of work, too.
Absolutely. And remember, teamwork is essential. Don't be afraid to ask for help from your colleagues when you need it. A supportive team can make all the difference in a high-pressure environment.
It's like that old saying, many hands make light work. Or in this case, many hands make perfectly seared scallops.
Exactly. Now, speaking of teamwork, the career guide also emphasizes the importance of communication in the kitchen. It's not just about your cooking skills, it's about being a clear and effective communicator.
So it's not just about speaking the language of seafood, it's about speaking the language of teamwork.
Precisely. Make sure you're listening attentively to your colleagues, communicating your needs clearly, and confirming orders to avoid any misunderstandings. Those little things can make a huge difference in a busy kitchen.
Right, no one wants to end up with a plate of sole when the customer ordered salmon.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought from the career guide. It's something that resonated with me when I first started out.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the secret ingredient to success as a fish cook?
Well, it's not so much a secret ingredient as it is a core value passion. When you're genuinely passionate about fish cookery, it shows in everything you do, from the way you handle a knife to the way you interact with your team.
That makes sense. Passion is contagious. It can inspire your colleagues, impress your customers, and ultimately make you a better cook.
Exactly. So to all you aspiring fish cooks out there, remember that passion is your fuel. These guides are your roadmap, and RoleCatcher's AI is your secret weapon. Go out there, embrace the challenge, and let your love for seafood guide you.
That's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground today, from interview tips and career insights to the physical and mental demands of the job. We hope this deep dive has left you feeling inspired, prepared, and ready to make a splash in the world of fish cookery.
And remember, RoleCatcher has a wealth of resources to support you on your journey. Check out their website, explore their guides, and see how their AI-powered tools can really help you land that dream job.
Good luck out there, and remember, keep those knives sharp, your fish fresh, and your passion burning bright.